Yo, what's good? It's kanelogic. So Tides of Annihilation has been quietly building real momentum over the past year. And if you've been seeing clips online and thinking, why is nobody talking about this more? You're definitely not alone. Because every time new footage drops, the reaction is basically the same. Wait, this actually looks incredible. And then, silence. It disappears back into the shadows. So today we're going over everything that's going on with the game right now. The newest updates, what the devs have actually confirmed, what the gameplay hook is that makes this different from every other action game, what's still frustratingly missing from the conversation, and then I'll give you the honest take on how to approach this game. Hype with lowered expectations. That's the move. Let's get into it. All right, quick context for anyone just tuning in. Tides of Annihilation is a single-player action-adventure game set in a version of modern-day London that's been absolutely shattered by an otherworldly invasion. But here's where it gets interesting. It's not just generic apocalypse stuff. The game blends that ruined post-invasion London with Arthurian fantasy elements, specifically the mythology of Avalon and the Knights of the Round Table. So you've got this modern city mixed with mythical realms, reality and fantasy bleeding into each other. You play as Gwendolyn, the lone survivor of this invasion, and her mission is to find the Holy Grail to save her sister and restore the world. Classic hero's journey stuff, but the execution looks anything but generic. The game is confirmed for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC via both Steam and Epic Game Store. It's also an Xbox Play Anywhere title, meaning if you buy it on Xbox, you get the PC version too. And here's the current status. The Steam page still says "coming soon," meaning there's no locked release date right now. The developers, Eclipse Glow Games, have confirmed the game is tentatively scheduled for 2026. Some insiders have mentioned a possible fall 2026 window, like September or October, but nothing official yet. So we're in that weird waiting phase where the game looks amazing, the marketing is active, but we're still playing the "when is this actually dropping" game. The freshest "what's going on right now" update is pretty straightforward. Eclipse Glow Games just dropped a Year of the Horse trailer to celebrate the Chinese New Year 2026, which makes sense since they're a Chinese studio based in Chengdu. Now, this trailer isn't a deep gameplay breakdown, it's more of a vibe showcase. You see creatures, characters, environments, tone. It's designed to keep the game in the conversation and remind people it exists. But it's still a signal that marketing is active and the devs are staying engaged with the community. Before this, the big moment was back in November 2025 when they dropped the Break the Mirror gameplay trailer during the Xbox Partner Preview. That one was massive, 4 minutes of actual gameplay showing off a boss fight against a shape-shifting witch named Tyranno the Ferryman in a place called the Mirror Folded Realm. That's the trailer people are still talking about because it showed off the game's core identity in a way the announcement trailer didn't. So yeah, the game's been relatively quiet for a few months, but the Year of the Horse trailer is a reminder this thing is still coming. All right, let's talk about what actually makes this game different. Because if you just look at surface-level screenshots, you might think, okay, another third-person action game. Got it. But the identity move here is something called the Dual Frontline Battle System, and this is the hook. This is what separates Tides of Annihilation from just being another action game with a cool trailer. Here's how it works in plain English.
You're not just fighting alone as Gwendolyn. You can summon and command spectral knights of the Round Table, and we're talking about over 10 legendary knights from Arthurian lore. Each knight has unique abilities. Some are offensive, some are defensive, some focus on elemental attacks. And here is where it gets really interesting. You can control both Gwendolyn and a knight simultaneously. Not just they fight alongside you as AI companions. You can directly control both at the same time to coordinate attacks, break down enemy defenses, and execute combo moves. The devs have said you can bring 4 knights into battle total, 2 sets of 2. And you can swap between them mid-combo using the directional buttons. So in that Tyronio boss fight, for example, you see Gwendolyn summoning Sir Lamorak, a spear-wielding knight, and together they're attacking inside and outside this mirror dimension at the same time. Gwendolyn's on one side of the mirror, Lamorak's on the other, and you're controlling both to break through the boss's magical barriers. That's the hook. And the devs have been very clear that this system is about giving players freedom to shape their own combat style. You're not locked into one play style. You're building your own order of knights and mixing their abilities to fit how you want to play. Now, we've seen this kind of thing before in other games, companion systems, summons, tag team mechanics, but the way it looks here, especially with the dimension shifting and the simultaneous control, feels fresh enough to stand out. The question is it deep enough to carry the whole game? Because if this system is shallow or repetitive after the first few hours, the novelty wears off fast. The setting is a huge part of why this game keeps trending every time new footage drops, because it's not your standard medieval fantasy world. It's a broken, modern London mixed with mythic Avalon energy bleeding through the cracks. Think about that for a second. You've got recognizable London landmarks, but they're twisted, distorted, transformed by this otherworldly invasion. The devs described it like this: imagine the city as a giant tree, its branches representing iconic districts and landmarks, each twisted and transformed by the otherworldly invaders. So you're not just running through generic fantasy forests or castles, you're exploring a post-apocalyptic London where reality and fantasy are colliding. Familiar places turned into surreal, dangerous arenas. And then there's Avalon, the mythical realm where you fight some of the bigger boss encounters. The contrast between these two worlds is basically the whole appeal. One moment you're in a ruined chapel in London, the next you're in a dimension-bending mirror realm fighting a shape-shifting witch. Cinematically, it looks stunning. The game is built on Unreal Engine 5, and the lighting, detail, and scale are all top tier. The devs have mentioned they took inspiration from movies like Inception, The Matrix, and Doctor Strange for the dimension-shifting combat sequences, and you can absolutely see that influence in the gameplay. But here's the thing, looking good and playing good are two different things. So the question becomes, does the world feel alive and meaningful to explore, or is it just a pretty backdrop for linear combat arenas? We won't know until people actually get their hands on it. Alright. Here's where I'm going to keep it realistic, because as cool as this game looks, there are some very real gaps in what we know.
No release date. Steam still says coming soon. The devs have said 2026, but that's not a locked date. Insiders have floated fall 2026, September or October, but again, nothing official. And when a game this far into marketing still doesn't have a confirmed release date, that tells you they're not ready to commit yet. That could mean optimization issues, it could mean scope adjustments, it could just mean they want more time to polish. But whatever the reason, we're not at the safe to plan around stage yet. No real PC specs. Steam currently lists 16 gigabytes of RAM as a minimum, and some third-party sites are mentioning an Intel Core i5-12400T CPU as a baseline. But most of the actual PC requirements are still listed as TBD. That means nobody should be acting like PC performance is confirmed or guaranteed right now. We don't know if this is a well-optimized UE5 game or if it's going to be a stuttery mess at launch. We don't know what kind of GPU you'll need to run this at 1440p or 4K. We don't know if shader compilation is going to be a problem. We're in the dark on all of that. No console performance targets. Same thing for consoles. We don't have official confirmation on whether it's targeting 60 FPS or 30 FPS, what resolution it's running at, whether there will be performance versus quality modes, how Series S is going to handle this, and for a game this visually ambitious, those are critical questions. Because if this thing runs at 30 FPS on base consoles with frequent dips, that's going to change how people feel about it real fast. We need a deeper gameplay deep dive. Trailers can look amazing, boss fights can be spectacular, but we still need to see how deep the knight customization actually goes. Can you build different loadouts? Can you spec into different playstyles, or is it surface level?
how enemy variety holds up beyond the first few hours. Are there meaningful differences between enemy types, or do they all start to blur together? What progression really looks like? Skill trees, gear upgrades? How does the game keep you engaged over 20-30 hours? The Xbox breakdown gave us a good overview, but we need longer, uninterrupted gameplay to really judge the loop, because a great 5-minute boss fight doesn't guarantee a great 20-hour game. This is worth mentioning because it adds important context. Eclipse Glow Games is a Chinese studio based in Chengdu. This is their first game. They're backed by Tencent, which gives them financial support, but also means expectations are high. The game has been in development for 3 years as of early 2025, according to interviews at GDC 2025. And the co-CEO, Ari Chen, has talked about how challenging it's been for a Chinese studio to reinterpret a Western legend like King Arthur. He said, "Because the legend of King Arthur is a Western story, as a Chinese studio, we need to think about how to reinterpret the culture and how to tell a good story with it. We want to truly respect the British culture and the legends of King Arthur." So they've been working with cultural consultants, referencing historical texts, trying to get it right. That's admirable. But it also means this is a studio proving themselves for the first time on a global stage. They don't have a track record yet, so while the game looks incredible, we don't know if they can stick the landing. One thing I haven't mentioned yet: colossal knights. These are massive, towering boss entities that roam the world of London. We're talking mountain-sized knights that you can climb, explore, and battle. They're not just set pieces, they're integral to the journey. Think Shadow of the Colossus meets God of War. You scale these giants, find weak points, interact with the environment on their bodies, and eventually take them down. The devs have confirmed there are 30 bosses total in the game, and the Colossal Knights are a major part of that roster. Visually, they look stunning. The sense of scale is insane. But again, does it feel good to play, or does it feel like a gimmick? We won't know until we see extended gameplay. Alright, here's my honest take on where we're at with Tides of Annihilation. This game has one of the strongest identity hooks I've seen in a while. The Dual Frontline Battle System with the Knight summoning mechanics, if that's deep, polished, and well executed, it can absolutely carry the entire experience. The world looks gorgeous, the boss fights look spectacular, the dimension-shifting mirror realms look innovative, but you gotta lower expectations in 3 key areas. 1. Don't assume the trailer combat equals the final feel. A lot of action games look clean and polished in curated footage. The real test is, does the combat stay readable when chaos erupts? When you've got multiple enemies, particle effects flying everywhere, camera movements, dimension shifts, does it feel fair and skill-based?
Or does it turn into visual noise where you're just hoping your inputs land? We don't know yet. 2. Don't assume it's dropping soon just because marketing is active. New trailers are great. Year of the Horse celebration? Cool. But coming soon with no locked date means timing can still shift. Fall 2026 is the rumor, but it could slip to early 2027. Don't plan your calendar around this yet. 3. Don't assume performance targets exist yet. Until we get official console performance modes and real PC requirements, anything about FPS, resolution, or optimization is pure guesswork. This could run beautifully, or it could be a stuttery mess. We won't know until reviews drop. If I were Eclipse Glow Games, here's what I'd be prioritizing for the next marketing push. 1. A locked release date. Give people something to plan around. 2. Extended, unedited gameplay. Not just boss fights. Show us exploration, progression, enemy encounters, how the Knight system evolves over time. 3. Console and PC performance details. What are we looking at for base PS5, for Series X, for Series S? What kind of GPU do I need on PC? 4. Deeper dive into progression systems. How do you upgrade Knights? How does Gwendolyn level up? What keeps you engaged after hour 10? Show us that, and the hype becomes confidence. Without it, the hype stays cautious. So here's how I'm approaching Tides of Annihilation right now. Excited? Absolutely. This looks like it could be something special. Confidence? Not yet. Too many unknowns. Wishlisted? Yeah,
but I'm not pre-ordering until I see reviews and performance analysis. Because hype is fun. Hype gets you excited. But hype doesn't tell you if the game actually runs well on your system. Hype doesn't tell you if the combat loop stays engaging after 15 hours. Hype doesn't tell you if the story delivers on its premise. So my mindset is, be excited, but stay disciplined. Wishlister, track updates, watch for the deep dive gameplay breakdown, and when the release date gets announced, wait for trusted reviews before you commit $60 to $70. All right, that's where we're at with Tides of Annihilation right now. If you want, I'll do a part 2 where I break down what this game needs to show next to prove it's legit. The top risks, combat depth, repetition, performance, pacing, and what platforms might be the safest buy at launch. Drop a comment, PS5, Series X, Series S, or PC, and tell me what you care about more, combat feel, story, or performance, because that answer changes which platform you should be looking at. It's kanelogic. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this, and I'll catch you in the next one.